Picture the most famous street circuit on earth. It's tight, it's narrow, and it's completely unforgiving. And frankly, it's obsessed with its own history. Monaco is a place where Saturday is supposed to be the actual race. Qualifying, it settles the order, and race day is usually just a scenic Sunday drive where absolutely nothing changes. Monaco 2026 was supposed to be the weekend where reality finally caught up with Kimi Antonelli. This isn't Spa or Silverstone where you can mess up on Saturday and rely on a massive straight and blast your way back through the field on Sunday. Here, you make one mistake and your weekend is dead in a ditch. If there's ever a place for the championship leader to look human, it was right here in the Principality. Instead, the actual racetrack, it fell apart. And the local hero, he crashed into the exact same wall as a back marker within a few laps. 5 different drivers were penalized for speeding in the pit lane at the width of a human hair. Title contender's own mechanics cost him the entire afternoon because they couldn't count to 5. And Sergio Perez, he completely forgot how grid boxes work. Yet, through the red flags and the disintegrating asphalt, absolute madness of mid-tier, the 19-year-old Italian just drove away from everyone.
Perez goes off the track, off goes Leclerc, through goes Hamilton!
Welcome back to the Art of MotoRacing. Let's talk about how round 6 completely broke the matrix. Heading into the weekend, the championship story was already getting a bit ridiculous. Kimi Antonelli had already pocketed 4 wins from the first 5 races. He arrived with a massive 43-point lead over his own teammate George Russell. And George Russell, he arrived looking like a man desperately watching sand slip through his fingers. After that heartbreak mechanical retirement from the lead in Canada, he desperately needed something, anything to go right. Ferrari, they arrived quietly with a confidently quick Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, who was desperate to repeat his emotional home win. Max Verstappen, he was lining up right on the front row, ready to tear up the script if he could just get a clean launch into turn 1. But Monaco doesn't care about your fairy tales, it gives you hope first, gently guides you through the guardrails, and whispers, "See you next year, pal." Well, the madness, it started on Saturday. Qualifying here isn't just a session, it's a high-stake chess, 180 miles per hour, with the concrete walls millimeters from your mirror. Qualifying, Antonelli set the early benchmark with 1 minute 12.3. Max Verstappen, he was just 1,000th of a second behind him. Think about that, over an entire lap of Monaco, the gap was less than the blink of an eye. As the clock ticked down, Verstappen found even more time to take the provisional pole. The grandstands, they went completely feral when Leclerc briefly flashed purple. But then Antonelli, he went out for his final run and pulled the absolute magic out of his hat. 1 minute 12.0. Boom, pole position for the kid. Verstappen was left 200ths of a second back in P2. Hamilton was third. Leclerc, after clipping the wall at Tabac and parking at Rascas, wound up fourth. But you'll have to look further back, because George Russell, he ended up 6th, nearly 4/10ths off his teenage teammate. In Monaco, starting 6th isn't just a tough grid slot, it's a locked walled door. And Russell, he was about to spend his entire Sunday trying to kick it down. Ferrari had a weird Saturday too, because Fred Vasseur, he missed qualifying after being kept under observation at a local medical facility. Although he was already back in the paddock on the race day, still for a team chasing a Monaco miracle, that was not exactly the calmest way to enter Sunday. Then came the start. 5 red lights, lights out. Antonelli launches beautifully into Sante Devonte. Right next to him, Max Verstappen's Red Bull simply bogged down. An anti-stall software glitch, it triggered the moment he dropped the clutch. By the time he found a forward gear, the entire grid had sailed past him. His engineer came on the radio with the most depressing phrase in the sport: "Just bring it home." Honestly, if my boss told me that on lap 1, I'd pull into the harbor and get a gin and tonic. Red Bull retired him shortly after. Just like that, Antonelli's biggest immediate threat was in the garage before lap 1 was even finished. With Verstappen out, the Grand Prix it looked settled. Antonelli he checked out, building a massive 5-second cushion. But while the track was calm, the pit lane was descending into pure, unadulterated comedy. The pit lane speed limit in Monaco is 60 km per hour. Five different drivers Hamilton, Russell, Piastri, Colapinto, and Pierre Gasly. Gasly getting it done twice were hit with pit lane speeding penalties. And how much were they over by? zero point 0.1 kilometers an hour. 1/10. That's not speeding, that's a heavy breath on the accelerator. Steady sore, it was a sensor calibration error due to Monaco's ridiculously short pit entry. But the stewards, they didn't care. Hamilton, he took his 5 seconds on the chin during the routine pit stop. For George Russell's side of the garage, it went into full meltdown mode. Russell came in under a safety car caused by Lance Stroll's accident. Mercedes decided to double stack their cars. The plan was simple: hold George for 5 seconds to serve the penalty, then swap the tires. But in the high voltage chaos of a double stack, the mechanics flinched. They started working on the car before the 5 seconds were up. You simply cannot do that. The penalty for that is a drive through. In Monaco, a drive through penalty is the universe telling you, pack your bags and get out of here. Russell dropped from a potential podium all the way down to P12, completely outside of the points. Afterwards, a thoroughly broken down Russell, he said, I gained maybe 1/10 of a second in the pit lane and lost 13 positions. You have to feel for that guy. 2 weekends in a row, massive points haul completely vaporized by things outside his control. By lap 68, the race it transitioned from a tactical drama to survival horror. Lance Stroll, he clipped the inside wall at turn 19 and parked his Aston Martin in the barrier. The safety car it cleared the mess. The race went green, and just a few laps later, Charles Leclerc he did the exact same thing. Same corner, same wall, same heartbreaking result. At this point, it's not even a curse anymore. Monaco is just writing Leclerc personal hate mail. Or when the FIA looked at the track cameras, they noticed something bizarre. The cars, they weren't failing. The actual circuit was quitting. Asphalt at turn 19 was literally disintegrating under the torque of these cars, tearing up into massive chunks of flying stone. Red flag, the race was halted for around 40 minutes so officials could inspect and repair the track surface. Both Stroll and Leclerc, they claimed track debris didn't cause their crash. Leclerc, he blamed a nightmare braking issue, though Brembo later put out a statement, a very polite statement, basically saying, don't look at us. Regardless of the blame, after the delay of a couple of laps behind the safety car, it finally got a standing restart for the final 8 laps. Standing restart in Monaco with so few laps left is pure nightmare for a race leader. It's the ultimate opportunity for the chaos to swallow you whole, but Antonelli didn't even blink. He dropped the clutch, covered Hamilton perfectly into turn 1, and checked out for the final time. Behind them, the fight for the final step of the podium, it was an absolute theater and a total heartbreak. Pierre Gasly, he drove a brilliant and heroic race in that Alpine, dragging it through the chaos and actually crossing the finish line in P3 on the road. It should have been a legendary moment, but remember that stupid double pit lane infringement penalty from earlier came back to haunt him hard and completed destroying his brilliant drive, dropping him down in the final classification. Instead, the history book will say Isack Hadjar he took a miraculous P3. And honestly, the 21-year-old he has earned it. He was nursing a deeply sick Red Bull engine that was missing the first gear and hemorrhaging power. With Oscar Piastri breathing down his neck, the kid drove an absolute psycho. He held his nerve and inherited a brilliant podium. For the back, the rest of the midfield order read like a random number generator. Piastri saved McLaren's day in fourth after Lando Norris suffered a mechanical DNF. Liam Lawson, he put his racing bull into a stellar fifth with teammate Arvid Lundblad right behind him in sixth. Massive double point haul for the junior squad. Gasly's demotion left him classified in seventh after all the penalty math settled. The final comedic twist, it belonged to Cadillac and Sergio Perez. Perez crossed the line in 10th, seemingly scoring Cadillac's first ever Formula One points. Except the stewards realized he had lined up completely outside his designated grid slot on the final restart. It was his second grid position infringement of the afternoon. Post-race penalty, it dropped him dead last of the finisher. Guess who inherited the final precious point? Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin. Out of the 7 cars that retired from the race, this absolute meat grinder of this race, Alonso somehow wandered backward into the top 10. Now let's look at the wreckage of this championship table. Kimi Antonelli, he now sits on 156 points, with lead at the top, the massive 66 point. Lewis Hamilton has quietly, professionally put together a back-to-back podium and has now jumped George Russell for second in the standing. Russell is now 68 points from his teammate. Title fight, it isn't over. We have 16 races left, but the momentum shift feels tectonic. Russell doesn't just need a quick car anymore, he needs exorcism. We need to talk about what Antonelli is doing because we are watching something genuinely crazy. With this win, Antonelli now has won 5 consecutive Grand Prix. Do you know the list of drivers who have managed 5 wins in a row? Alberto Ascari, Jim Clark, Michael Schumacher, Nigel Mansell, Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Nico Rosberg, and Max Verstappen. You know, every single name on that list is a world champion. Every single one of them is an era-defining legend. This kid has put his name right next to them, just 19 years old. Monaco, it was the ultimate trap. It was the race designed to catch him out with randomness, bad luck, or strategic insanity. Instead, he qualified on pole by a whisker, survived a broken racetrack, handled every safety car restart, and made the most stressful circuit on planet look like a casual Tuesday. He isn't winning just because Mercedes is a rocket ship, he's winning because he processes pressure differently than the rest of the grid. He has that rare, terrifying quality that the all-time greats show the second they step into. That is Monaco 2026. 7 retirements, a crumbling racetrack, pit lane sensor madness, and a teenager who treated the whole thing like light afternoon rehearsal. Next up is Barcelona Catalunya. The Spanish Grand Prix, it has moved to Madrid, but Barcelona is a track Mercedes knew. Upgrades are coming, and the rest of the grid is getting deeply, deeply desperate for an answer. What do you think? Is Hamilton now the only man alive who can make Antonelli quit? Or has the championship already started to slip away from everyone? Let me know in the comments below. Hit subscribe, click that bell icon. We cover both Formula 1 and MotoGP here, so if you're only getting half the chaos, you're missing out. And I'll see you around.